All right. Well, let's get started. Thank you guys for your patience, and good morning. I'm Denise Trebona. I am the manager for the SharePoint design team.
Good morning, everybody. Am I on? Hello? How about now? There we go. Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm Sean Squires. I am a product program manager on the SharePoint Experiences team, and thank you again for being here today.
All right, so let's take a quick look at what we're going to be going over today. We're going to talk about what the core elements are in our branding capabilities. We're going to talk about some of the principles behind those as just a grounding for how we think about those. We're going to talk about some of the guidance for how to apply those. And then we're also going to talk about what's new and what's coming in those areas. And we've got a lot of great new evolutions in our site design capabilities that Sean's going to be showing you.
Yeah, I'm very excited, guys, especially for those of you who are familiar with site designs. We just released it earlier this year. We've been doing a lot of things to it, and your feedback has been invaluable, and we got some new things to show you today. So what we really want you to get out of this session is just, as you probably have started to see this week, just how much stuff has been happening in the brand space and in the site design space to really enable you to make sites your own. So. And here's the fun part.
Whoa, yeah. Sean.
We're going to do this in 60 minutes. So we actually are going to try and go until 10, even though it's now 57 minutes technically. So if you can stick around, awesome. But yeah, did you know I put that in there?
No, that was a really nice transition. The design team did not work on that transition.
Ouch. No, but seriously. So why are we both here? Because you guys are actually going to see a little bit of a lot of really cool visual stuff, a lot of great stuff that's been happening in the UX. But also, I'm going to actually, yes, I am going to open up Power Management, the management shell and do some PowerShell. Not everything has been built into the UX around the site designs, but these are tenant administrative functions, and we're excited to share some of these improvements with you. So a little bit of beautiful, beautiful looking stuff, and then some beautiful PowerShell commandlets. So
they go together just
they go together like peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah.
But no, we really want to just underscore the value prop of creating an awesome brand identity. And as you guys, for those of you who heard me talk about this subject before, it's really around those two things, driving consistency and really allowing the product to work for you to enable your business process with consistent configurations. And so that operationalization piece is super important and really starts to bring a lot of these capabilities together in a consistent way.
Awesome. Okay, so how many of you have created a modern SharePoint site? Show of hands. Okay, that is a decent number of you. That's awesome. So you know then that this is what the starting point looks like. And these are nice looking pages, but sometimes we've gotten the feedback that people would like to see something a little bit more robust and colorful and beautiful and more highly branded. And so these are some examples that we've been showcasing this week in various sessions. And today we're going to talk more about how you can get your sites to look a bit closer to this. So I'm going to start with a little bit of background on the branding elements and what we think about as the core elements of brand in SharePoint, and quickly run through those. So logos are a really important piece of anybody's brand, as I think you all know. Navigation is another really big component for people's intranets in terms of what expresses their brand and some of their unique structure for their intranet. Theming, which we think about as both color and fonts for how you get that look and feel, your unique brand colors, your unique typography, are that third component. And then content structure is the other thing that people told us was really important to them in terms of, hey, we structure our content this way. These are really important components and elements to have, and they need to be always laid out in specific ways within our company. And then underpinning all of these things are site designs and the extensibility that site designs give you. And that's what Sean's going to talk about, is how you kind of operationalize those other four things up top with site designs. So next, I just want to talk a little bit about the thinking that goes behind those elements and what we talk about as our pillars, and this is how we kind of guide ourselves on our journey around the features that we add, both from a design and product management perspective. So the first pillar here is professional. And this really comes down to making sure your content looks great. Enterprise content definitely has some unique challenges to it. So it can be, it can be dense. It's often functional and interactive, and we work really hard to make sure that that's going to show up well in your pages, and also be easy for people who are consuming that content to interact with and use it. We also want to make sure, I think Satya talked about both, representing various industries, verticals, and also scope in his keynote earlier this week, and that really, hit home for me, because that's already expressed in our principles here, that we really want to make sure we can cover you, whether you're like a toy company, educational institution, financial, healthcare. Like, we want to make sure that what you can get out of this really reflects your vertical or your industry. Second, the on-rails piece is really important. Brand really needs to be consistently applied to work well and really convey that sense of formal authority, let people know they're in the right place. And so a bunch of what Sean's going to show you with regard to on-rails, we really think about this as how the brand teams, corporate communication teams, and admins can really curate this experience for employees. Working at various scopes really means that if you may be a company, you may have wholly owned subsidiaries that you need to brand below that. You may have divisions, you may have products that need branding. Within Microsoft, we have Xbox, we have Office. Those brands are very different from each other, even though we're all within the same company. And so we work hard to make sure that our branding capabilities are going to allow you to have that same type of flexibility, no matter how your organization is structured or branded. And that those options are curated for employees, which takes us into efficient and smart. We really want to provide the right branding options at the right time. That may be where the site owner is using the change the look panel, which I'll be showing later, or that might be when the site is actually provisioned. They just get it with the appropriate branding elements applied, which is what Sean's going to talk a lot about later in the session. Also, this applies to all modern sites, and all this branding and theming work is also mobile ready. So there's no extra work you have to do to make this look great in responsive mobile web or inside the SharePoint mobile app. Finally, accessible. So accessibility is very important to us. There are a lot of standards around accessibility, and theming can be one of the things that can make accessibility very difficult. If you don't do it properly, it will be, you can wind up making things illegible for people. And so we work really hard to make sure that all our out-of-the-box themes meet all contrast ratio requirements. And we are going to provide guidance. If you're making custom themes, we're going to tell you how you can do that with your own themes as well. And lastly, I'd call out here, there was a session earlier this week on accessibility. Contrast ratio is just one of the things that was covered in that session. So I'd recommend checking that out on demand. Okay, next, I'm going to jump into theming and an overview of theming. So when we talk about a theme, we're talking about a main color and an accent color that work together in a site to complement each other. And in our out-of-the-box themes, we'll provide 6 light themes, 2 dark themes, and then all of these can be mixed and matched. So you can see in the back panel up there, we've got a set of main colors, and then below that you can see a little row of 5 accent colors. And those accent colors will change depending on which main color you choose, to make sure that they sort of all look good together and they match each other. I'm going to show that later, so I'll start talking about that. So let's jump into, that's kind of the background. Let's jump into the demo machine. A little bit of a overview of some of that. Let me do a quick refresh here. See if we can get that picture to come in. Okay, well, we seem like we might be missing an image or two here, but we can see that we've got a really nice team site here with a lot of great content in it. Looks like several of my images are going to be broken. But this page, is quite lengthy, and there's a lot of white running down the page, and it would be really nice to be able to add some visual interest and break this up a bit. So I'm going to go into edit mode. And I'm going to jump down here to this new section I've got. And I'm going to move to the left. In this gray rail on the left, you'll see I have edit section. And over here on the right, I've got section background options. These are new. I'm really excited about being able to introduce this level of color. And you can see I can choose a neutral. I can go to a soft tint that matches the main color you can see here happening on the top of the site. And then also strong. Looks like we might have a tiny color issue there with the font. And then you can see I published this. And scroll down and you can see I've now got this really nice section background color to break up the page. And so, yeah, thank you. And so this is, again, this is something we're really excited about just in terms of being able to bring a lot more color to the page. We think it brings a lot more dimension to the page. And another thing that brings a lot, more energy to the page is this use of accent color. Sorry about the broken image here. But one of the things I want to point out is that this is the accent color I was talking about earlier. And as we bring more color to the page, we don't want you to wind up with a page that's sort of all one color. And so we're also working through how we increase accent color capabilities in the page that are going to allow you to play with both of those elements at the same time. So let's take a look at some of the emphasis options and theming. So that was some of the work we're doing at the page level. Now we're going to take a look at some things we're doing at the site level. So I'm going to click on the gear up here in the Office 365 Suite header, and I'm going to make my way down to change the look. And this is a panel that a lot of our theming, customizations, and some other good things happen in. I will say a quick word. I see some cameras out. I will say a quick word about the Change the Look panel. This is very much work in progress at the moment, and the UX is under construction. I like to say the bread is still in the oven on this, so we're able to show you a lot of the functionality today, but we'll probably be making some more changes to the UX itself. But really quickly, I will show you what I was talking about a minute ago, the ability to change the look on the page, and you can see a live preview as I change colors. You can see as I change a main color that the accent colors change so that they match. They're either analogous, complementary, or we've always got a neutral in the mix. So that's just some color theory that goes in behind picking these. And then the other thing that I wanted to point out and show here is just that we've got that same capability that we had at the page level, at the site level, to really walk through different options in the header. And again, we're really excited about this just because we think it really gives people that opportunity to really make the top of the site pop a lot more and just have a lot more visual emphasis to it. So the other thing I'm going to jump out of here and leave this theme the way I had it. For starters, I want to point out here is that we've taken this header on the team site full width, so that now aligns and matches to what you see between a communication site and a team site. And when we brought this color across the page in the header, we realized that we really wanted to take that full width. And that's actually, I think, rolled out to 100%.
It sure is. Yeah, both the full width header and the emphasis have been are 100% worldwide.
Yeah, so
all should be seeing this.
Yeah, so you all should be able to see this and play with this when you get back home. And the last thing in this section I wanted to show, I'm going to bump over to a different browser for this. So with the header, we know, like I said, we've made it full width, and we do know that there does wind up being quite a bit of navigation that stacks up on this page, especially if you get to hub sites, which we'll take a look at later. And we're exploring, how we can do things to kind of save space for people as we think through all those options, and we'll look at other options for that today too. But one of the things that we came up with internally is this ability to, on scroll, have the header go be shy, and really allow that much more room for content consumption. Yeah, thank you, Wendy. So allow that much more room for content consumption, which is especially important on small screens. And so this was, feedback from customers, but also from inside our own team about having that be something we can do that's space saving. So we're excited to bring that to folks as well. Okay, so I'm going to jump back to PowerPoint.
All right.
I think, yeah?
Yep, there you go.
Okay. And just really quickly recap that the new theme color we've got, giving that background color option really gives you that visual interest. And organization to your page, as you can kind of use that to really break up and highlight sections and really call out your header. We've got more use of that accent color to bring a little more energy to the page so it doesn't wind up being solidly one color. The out-of-the-box themes, I forgot to mention this, so that combination of themes that I was showing you with what we provide out of the box, you can get 120 color combinations out of that, 120 different themes by combining colors across those. And then lastly, as I just talked about, that shy header really creates some more room on the page. So section background, here's some more nice examples for people to look at just in terms of how you can use section background to really, either with something soft or with something bold, both with text and with imagery. When we introduced this feature, we pretty quickly noticed in our own team people going crazy with it. And so I thought I'd give a little bit of design guidance on what the design team sort of thinks is the best way to use this. So again, that's really to break up a long page or to highlight content that you think is really important, like a pull quote from your executive leadership team, things like that. We also saw some people going, I can make every section a color. And start to really look like you're impacting maybe the page background. Really recommend doing that with a theme instead if you want to change your page background, change it consistently across the site. Don't use section background for that. And then lastly, if you want to know more about theming and you're building custom web parts to go into your pages and you want them to work well on top of section background, if you have users changing that background color, you want your custom web parts to look good. I really, really recommend this session later today on Office UI Fabric front end. They will have a lot of the information about what you need to do to get started there, make your themes great, and also they are going to be covering some of the new Fluent controls, the new Microsoft design language coming inside the Fabric controls. Okay, so next up, I wanted to do a quick overview of custom theming. So everything we just talked about and showed, you can do. You can customize for your organization. We really want you to do that. And use your unique brand colors there and put those into play. And so make great looking, accessible themes. Those themes can be incorporated into the Change the Look panel. You can see an example here. Those are all organizational themes in this screenshot. And you'll also notice from this screenshot that in Change the Look, all the SharePoint out-of-the-box themes are gone, which is something else that, as an admin, you can decide that you want to do. And I'm going to turn it over to Sean for a quick demo of some of these capabilities.
Wonderful. Thank you, Denise. All right, let's jump back over to live stuff, because we always like to do live stuff. So, quick show of hands, how many people are familiar with this custom theming capability? We announced it last Ignite, actually, and have been making some updates and changes over the year. Wow, that's super. Okay, so some, about 10%, but a lot who don't, so wonderful, new to you. So this is actually a tool that we've put out on our public Fabric site that will help you generate the color palettes that you can then quickly use to create, to upload to your tenant and generate those custom themes. So we provide a bunch of resources at the end that you'll have in the deck, but you can also get to this through AKA MSSP site theming. So, but this tool here essentially allows you to generate the palette file in a number of outputs, and then you can go ahead and use whatever your preferential way of uploading that theme, because we support a couple different approaches. I'm going to do PowerShell. I actually have a custom theme that Denise's team gave me, so let's go ahead and plug that in just so you can see how easy this is. So let's, F9B200 is going to be my primary theme color, a beautiful gold. And then my body text color is going to be DDD, so I'm just putting in my hex values. Now check out this background color, 40324E. Wow, lovely. So nice purple and gold. So for those of you from Washington like us, go Huskies, right? All right. So I'm going to go ahead and take the PowerShell output. You'll see here that it's actually been updated with the values that I've put in the picker. So I'm going to go ahead and just grab all of this. And then I'm going to jump over to PowerShell where I'm already logged in as an administrator. And I'm going to go ahead and just attach this output to a variable. So we'll go ahead and put that in there. So now that theme Contoso, if I go ahead and just grab that, you'll see that now those values are essentially attached to that variable. And now it's just really a simple command, and rather than watching me type, let's just go ahead and cut and paste. What I'm going to do here is I'm actually using an add SPO theme command. I'm giving it a name, and then I'm just attaching to the palette parameter this variable, which is actually all these color values, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and put that in, and I'm done. That's it. Theme is added. Let's go see if I am telling truth here. We're going to go to this site here, this Contoso landings. I'm going to go ahead, open up the change the look, and there it is.
Woo! You make it look so easy.
It is easy. Go home and do it. It's fun. All right. Let's see. That is it. Aren't those super quick demos? All right. And we'll be back. Keep an eye on this theme, okay? Because it's going to show up again. All right.
Yeah, and one of the other things, coming soon, we're thinking about making some updates here. Do you want to talk about this real quick?
Oh, yeah. So with this theme, one thing I should probably have pointed out is you'll notice that on our demo tenant, we've actually disabled the out-of-box theme. So one of the things I would just want to emphasize here is when you create these custom themes, you also have the option with a similar PowerShell command to actually disable the out-of-box ones. So really giving you guys the ability to control what themes are made available to your users. And then the other thing that we want to do is with our out-of-box theme, some of the things that we're showing today, you can customize things like setting the emphasis and things like that. We'll be bringing that capability to custom themes as well, but leaving you, the administrators in the audience, in control of that. So if you want to enable folks to be able to take this purple theme and be able to maybe change the emphasis on the header, you will have that option to provide your users that capability.
Awesome.
Yep.
Thank you. All right.
Moving along, you got a lot of sections to cover.
I know, I'm just going to cruise onward. So the next piece we'll talk about is logos and layouts and a little bit of an overview, and then we'll look at a couple new capabilities. So right now we have 3 tiers of logo display and navigation. I'm just going to zip through these really quick, but I do like to point out the top one. I have run into quite a few customers who don't know about this. You have the ability to put your organizational brand at the top of the Office 365 suite header. You can link that back to a site of your choosing. Most people link that to their company portal. And you can also set that background color on the bar to match your company branding. That's all done in the Office 365 Admin Center area as opposed to a SharePoint area, just to point that out. You also have a hub logo in navigation, which is, again, great for that flexibility I was talking about, whether you want to brand across divisions, across product lines, across educational institutions. It's very flexible. And then also you have your site logo and navigation. Okay, so that's our basic overview of those elements. And, oh, I did want to talk about this. I put this in because this week we had a big announcement around Microsoft 365 Search. And if you saw the keynote, you probably saw the new universal search box showing up in OneDrive and other places. And so Sean and I have noticed that the audience is, you guys are very detail-oriented, and we figured we'd be asked, so I'm just volunteering. Yes, the new universal search box will come to SharePoint. We're still working on the timeline, but you can see that search box would move off the canvas and then up into the Office 365 suite header, which we just think is a great experience because it's going to be very consistent across products. Thank you. Yay! Okay, so next, let's take a look at just a quick demo.
Go ahead.
For some portal branding.
There you go, yes.
Sean will.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Trying to get you all set up here.
Thank you. Okay, so let's see. So we have some great new things, and this is showcased in a couple other places this week, but I do think it's really worth showing around how you can really make this header further stand out. So I'm going to go into, again, this gear in the Office 365 suite header and down to change the look. And you'll see I've got some new header options here. I'm going to go ahead for our case and apply compact. Thank you. Which is another way you can manage that header footprint. But really here we're bringing that branding and the navigation, up onto the same line, working really nicely together. And then I'm also going to go back and I'm going to add that header emphasis we were looking at earlier, the header background. We also call it, I'm going to change that back to strong and apply on both of those. And then the last thing I'm going to do is change the logo. So you can see we've got a nice little square drone logo down there, which is lovely, but we know, oh my gosh.
Oh boy, that got tiny. Go to
this one?
Yeah, no, the BRK3090, the 3090 right there. And Denise,
I got
there
my
you
own
go.
folder.
I gave her own folder.
As Andrew mentioned earlier in a session, I like the way he put this, that we do know company logos come in all shapes and sizes, and the square can be a little limiting when you're trying to really go for a big blown out brand look. And so we have the ability to support a non-square logo, and also with, oh, sorry, I've already changed it. I wanted to save it. Talk and chew gum. Yeah, there we go. So, yay, it's working. So we've really got that ability now to put in a larger size logo. It's transparent. I will say when we're done with this, you'll still see us requesting a square logo because we use that in a whole bunch of other places in a lot of lists of people, when people have their lists of frequent sites, recent sites, the Office Backstage, et cetera. So we still need that other element. But let me switch back, and in the PowerPoint, we can take a quick look at, here's that overview and recap of just how much variability and options that gives you in terms of a footprint. Sorry, I will call out, we do have a great session. We had a great session yesterday morning. If you didn't attend this, I highly recommend checking out 2136 on demand, because they covered this and a whole ton of other really awesome advancements. But what I'm going to do here is just run through some of those logo capabilities and some of their header styles that we're going to be getting out there to you. So these are the styles that we saw most commonly. We looked at hundreds of company portals and intranets and saw these were really common layouts for people. So some people go really minimal and they just go with their organizational brand in the suite header or something like the suite header and then just the navigation. This is really what we think may be the most common scenario, which is the one I just showed you, where you're really getting the company logo and some navigation really next to each other. And then this one, we do see some companies go really strongly branded and really want to blow that out, get a big graphic logo, get a background going back there, some transparency with the navigation. And so here's the set, for those of you, I see the cameras are out. So we will be providing all of these capabilities in terms of layout options out of the box to allow people to kind of really brand their portals. Okay. So also new in branding, mobile. So we don't have an Office 365 suite header in the mobile app. And we got some feedback from customers that they were really missing therefore a place to have an organizational brand. And so I just wanted to touch on that we are exploring how we could bring the organizational brand into the SharePoint mobile app, and thank everybody for giving us that feedback. Another great new advancement in terms of branding that was covered this week in a couple places, so I'm not going to go do a demo or show it, but we do have a new central asset library, or the CAL, if you want an acronym. And you can really just think about this as your brand library, making that available to all employees so that they're able to use the brand-provided content. A lot of companies have brand photography, brand videos, logos, things that you have spent time, money, and effort in creating to really carry forth your company's brand, and you want people to be using those in their sites and pages. And so this is a way for that to be available to them right where they're populating the content in their site. And that was a big customer request and got a bunch of cheering yesterday. Next, there's quiet cheering today. Okay, next, we're going to jump to navigation overview. So for those of you who aren't familiar, I'm just going to recap this really quickly. We've got a site navigation where you've got navigation on the left in a team site and at the top on a comm site. And then you've got hub navigation, which connects associated sites. And the menu style for both of those is cascading, slightly different depending on top or left, but we call that the cascading style of navigation. So one thing we're excited to announce is coming soon. You're going to have the option to just change that navigation from the site default. So if you have a team site and you want a top nav, you'll just be able to toggle that and see that flip. Yeah. We thank you guys again for the feedback on that, and we also know that was a capability we provided in the past, and we're bringing it back. So,
bringing it back, yes. Bringing
back the hits.
Yes.
Okay. Another piece I wanted to touch on was just the mega menu. This has also been discussed a lot this week. Yes. Maybe one of the most tweeted about topics this week, actually. It was surprising. So, the mega menu navigation really gives you, that's a new style from, there's the cascading that I mentioned, and now there's mega menu. And that really gives you more navigational density and more grouping, so you have better organization and hierarchy for your IA. Okay, I'm going to do a quick demo of a couple things that are new here. This is another pretty short one. The demo machine going. We've talked a little bit about what you can do on, yes, I know, it's pretty. So this is a really lovely site. We haven't shown it too much this week, but you can see good use of color throughout, and we've got a lot of very graphic content. And this is all laid out with out-of-the-box parts. And so you can see here, again, I'm just going to point out a couple things here to move along, actually. But you can see here that we touched on pages and color in pages. We touched on color in sites. And here you can see that we've brought color also to the hub navigation, because it would be strange to leave that out and have all this color at the top of the page with the header. So we're pretty excited to just be able to theme all of that for you at once and have that really sing. And then also at the bottom, we are introducing the footer, which is another hugely requested topic. So let me pop back to the PowerPoint. So I want to make sure we've got time to finish here. I did forget one thing, which was the ability to remove unneeded site navigation links. And this is something else we heard about, especially when we brought about hubs, that sometimes the navigation and site navigation links were redundant because you have a hub navigation. And that the hub front page might not have a lot to it, or you might have the links that you want up in the hub navigation with all the associated sites. And we also know sometimes there's also single page sites, like an event site, style site. So we're going to have the ability to just toggle those links off if you don't want them on a site. And then, as we talked about, there's the simple site footer, and that background really creating some coherent styling throughout. There is a family of footer options coming. So the one we've shown this week is simple. We're also going to be introducing extended version, and then we're going to introduce the ability to put the two of them together in a stack, so you could really have that almost, kind of fat footer. Yeah. another very popular item. And then I did want to point out also with SharePoint P&P, we do have an extension there from our community that allow you to have a footer. The interesting thing about this footer is if you want employees to be able to actually customize a set of their own links in the footer. That's what's going on in the third column here, where this person has put news sites in there, and those are personal links. Okay, so content structure, really quickly. So what is content structure? I like to define this a little bit for people. This really refers to the way those elements are laid out on the page, that structure, that layout. It's that repeatable pattern for structuring information. We have had customers say, like, hey, the way I put information on a page and lay out my content is really sort of unique to my organization. It needs to be templated. And so we're really happy to announce this week that, that we are bringing that feature as well. Sean, maybe you just want to flip over and show that really, really quickly.
Sure.
And so if Sean goes here, oh, I think you were there.
Was I there?
Yeah.
There I was.
And hits create new. Want me to do it?
Yeah, actually,
Yeah,
this one's yours.
I tried not to interrupt you because I know you were busy over here getting some site scripting stuff ready.
New page. There we go.
But we have this great ability now to have page designs at the site level. And so, yeah, this is awesome. Super fantastic. So you can see, I'll just click around, and this gives me a very excellent sort of live preview of all the placeholders in this page. And there's some really nice ones here. I'm going to click on Product Spotlight, and it's as easy as then hitting Create Page, and I've got this great new page that's done. Well, Sean, that's my cue, actually. I'm going to turn it over to you, yeah. Because the second piece of this, as we go from page designs, is really to
site designs.
Site designs.
Yes.
How to do some of this at a higher level.
At a higher level, that's
Yeah.
right. How to operationalize some of this stuff. So thank you, Denise. That's awesome. Yeah, and for those of you who are familiar with, actually, let me get a show of hands. How many people have heard of site designs? Wow, that's awesome. Great, about 20%. Okay, super. So I am going to cover a few, actually, let's go back to slides real quick just to sort of frame this up. We are going to switch gears here a little bit. Let's jump to, there we go. All right. So site scripts and site designs. Yeah, we are going to switch gears here a little bit. Really, what this is about, and you've probably, for those of you who are familiar with it and have played with it, awesome. This is something that we introduced at Ignite last year. And over the last year, it actually released earlier this year, but then we've really been just adding more capability to it throughout the year, and I'm excited to show you a couple new things today. But really, this is our approach to the future of a modern approach to site templating. And actually, before we get into this, like I like to do, let's actually do a demo. I just realized I wanted to show you guys this in action first. So let's jump over to the SharePoint homepage. I want to go ahead and create a new site. And for those of you who haven't seen this before, this might look a little different. When I go and create a team site here, I actually now have a bunch of options. These are actually site designs, okay? I want to go ahead and create this welcome site. And I gave this one a name since we're in the drone business. We're going to make the Drone Alley planning site. And did anybody actually notice the preview image? Looks kind of similar, doesn't it? Yeah. There's that purple theme showing up again. All right, I'm going to go ahead and make this site. Site provisioning, super fast. I suppose I could go ahead and add Patty, but oh, by the time I think about adding Patty, the site's already done. So let's go ahead and go to it.
That was so fast.
It was so fast. All right, so what's happening? A couple new things. Actually, a site design is being applied to this site. So what's happening is this site design is associated with a site script, and that script is running a bunch of actions to go and do configuration on the site after it's been created, okay? And so what you're seeing here is a bunch of actions, and we'll talk through a little bit more of this later, but you'll see here that what I've done is I've taken this team site and I've added things like site columns, I've added even a content type, I've created a list, I've added it to the, another list to the site nav, I've added Jeff Teeper as an owner to the group, and I've even triggered a flow to go and actually record some of this information for auditing purposes. And by the way, I've also added that theme Contoso portal. So let's go ahead and see what happens here when I hit done.
Woo!
Nice, huh? Branding operationalized, right? All right, so obviously because this is a branding talk, pretty cool that we can actually apply the theme, but I will point out over here, there's a couple things that were also added, all programmatically. That is the power of the site scripts in the site designs. All right, so let's take a look and go see a little bit more about what is happening here. Whoops, come on. There we go. So really the focus that we were, probably the objective of the site designs, what we were trying to address here was to really provide just what I showed you guys, the ability to really ensure consistent site creation and configuration in a way that you had control over, but also allowed you to take advantage of a lot of the rolling benefits and new capabilities that we're putting in the product. By actually doing the site designs and the site scripting after you're not really touching the template, you're doing stuff after the fact. And so that gives us the ability to continue to push improvements into the templates, and you're not stuck with this sort of snapshot or point-in-time template. The other thing we did with these, though, is we also allow you to make changes to them. So you can actually evolve a script, so like if the company branding needed to change from purple and gold to something else, you would just be able to go ahead and update that site script and then actually run it again against the sites where it was implemented initially. Site scripts are intended to be item potent, so you can continue to make those updates and rerun them again without fear of compromising any data or other changes that were made to the site. Now, these site settings, today we're talking about it in the context of, the site scripts and site designs, we're talking about in the context of branding, and a lot of the cool things that Denise is showing today, we are going to build into site script actions, so you'll be able to set things like the header emphasis, in addition to brand color, and some of the other settings. But we also want to make, I want to emphasize that you can use site scripts for oh so much more, and we're continuing to add site scripts, and site script actions rather, to the schema all the time. So you can do things like create, as you saw, I was actually adding principles to SharePoint roles, I was creating lists, I was creating columns, so all those capabilities. And some of the other things you can do, you can even register app catalog solutions or SPFX and things like that. So there's a whole bunch of cool stuff that you can do. And this is really the infrastructure, because I've had some questions over the last year, like what is the difference between the site scripts and the site designs? So just real quickly, think of the site scripts as they're the pizza toppings, you know? And no pizza really tastes that great if it's just a piece of dough. So the site design is really just the dough. What you do to that pizza is really how you configure it with the site scripts. That's where all the stuff happens. Those are all stored in the tenant, so they're available for all your sites in the tenancy. And then what we've done is we've made them available to you in a number of provisioning avenues. So you saw me put it in the self-site creation experience, but you can also, one of the things we announced at the SharePoint conference, and if I have time, I will demo this real quick on the bottom there, is you can associate a site design now to a hub site, okay? So if you want to make sure that a certain site script or site design rather gets applied to any site joining a hub, you can set that up, all right? And the other thing you can do in the middle is you can play tenant admin, and you can go ahead and administrate the application of site scripts and site designs by applying them even to existing sites. And earlier this summer, we even opened that up to classic site templates, okay? So if you have existing team sites or publishing sites that you want to make sure to get some of the benefits of this goodness, you can go ahead and do that too, okay? So some of this should be fairly self-explanatory, and then hopefully you're getting excited about the potential and thinking of scenarios where you can apply this. But really what we try to do is make these things very flexible. You can imagine that they can be applied just to a specific site template, and in fact, I'll show you how that works. We're going to take that site that I created, that site design that I created that applied that purple brand to the team site. We're going to apply it to the comm site in just a second. You can also apply it to other out-of-box stuff, like I mentioned, to even classic. That's what that STS #0 is. So you can even apply it to like classic templates. Finally, you might even apply it by organization. We support the ability to scope site designs. So this is really useful. And in fact, we even use this at Microsoft. A lot of folks in the OneDrive SharePoint team, we all have a specific site configuration that we want. We have a site design that's configured and scoped just to us. So all those people in finance can't create sites with our stuff, okay? And then finally, as I mentioned, you can apply them via a hub. So let's go take a look at a couple of these approaches just to kind of bring some of this stuff home. So I want to jump back to the demo environment. All right, so first thing I wanted to show you is there is a bunch of commands that are available to you to actually see what site designs are on your environment, what scripts are associated with them, and even this is where you can do a lot of your administration. So what I have here is this is just a get SPO site design commandlet that's actually, and I just did a little bit of formatting on it so it was a little bit easier to read, but these are the site designs that have actually been deployed to this tenant that I'm demonstrating on this morning. And you'll see that we have a bunch of site designs. And in fact, you'll notice that in that web template column, there's a mix of 64 and 68. That simply refers to the site template ID. So 64 is the team one, and 68 is the ComSite one. So what I wanted to do was just to sort of illustrate the flexibility of this is I'm going to go, and I actually, just so you guys didn't have to watch me type, I put a bunch of this stuff, typed it ahead of time. So let's talk about this one real quick before I do this. So what I did was I already created the site script that actually had that theme that I created earlier with Denise. I actually was doing that really quickly while she was talking. That's how quick it is, especially if you have a template to work from. What I'm doing here is I applied that to the team site template. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create another site design using the same site script, but I want to apply this one to the com site. Notice web template 68, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter, and just like that, the site design's created. So I gave it the name Contoso Shared Design. So let's go ahead and jump over to our environment here. And I think I lost SharePoint Home, so let's go back there real quick. And if I go here, fingers crossed, there it is. Cool. Thank you. The other thing I can do, and I'm going to just show you this command as well, is I can also set a site design to a default template, okay? So in addition to scoping, and there's a way of scoping that, and I'll try and show you that, guys, real quickly. But what I'm doing here is I'm actually applying a site design and changing its parameters. So in this case, there's an isDefault parameter. What this does is when I apply this, it's going to go ahead and actually take this Contoso Electronics communication site design and attach it as the default site design for the communication template. What this means now is because I did this, when I go back over here and pick one of the out-of-box communication templates, let me go ahead and close that again and reopen it just to make sure. Whoops. I want to go ahead and make a showcase one just to illustrate this, and we'll just call this Drone Alley. Now, normally what would happen is I'm just creating an out-of-box communication site. But wait, what's happening? I attached a site design to this thing. So this site design has actually just been applied to this. This is also pretty flexible because it's the same call that if you were to create a site from some of the other locations, from the other workloads, you would actually get the benefit of this. So we don't have site designs available in all the entry points in O365, but this is one way that you can kind of work around that limitation that we have in the product right now, is you can attach a site design to the default templates to ensure they always get executed when a site gets created. Okay? Thank you. All right, I forgot I'd set this one up, so I want to just show this one to you guys real quick. This one is kind of cool. So what this one is doing is, this is actually this vintage electronics one. I think I actually have it up here. Let me make sure I do. There it is. Pretty cool, huh? Blast from the past. Yeah, all right. So what I'm going to do is I just wanted to show real quickly that I can take a site design with site scripts, and I can go ahead and attach this, actually run it against this vintage Electronics 1 classic team site. And it's thinking, there we go. All right. We're done. So what just happened is all of those site actions were applied to that site, okay? And if we go back there real quick, and I'm going to just refresh this guy, we won't spend much time on this one, but you'll see, hey, it picked up the new theme. And if I go into site contents, you'll see that there's those lists. So you have a lot of that same flexibility that you have with the modern templates for your existing sites. All right, one last one. I'm going to get myself lost in all these links. I think it was this guy here. Hold on. My apologies. Let's make sure I've got a hub site here. Where was I going to do my hub site from? Uh-oh. I lost my place, guys. Oh, there it was. It was from Sales 2. I never opened up Sales 2. Let's make sure that's still here because I actually want to show you guys this real quick, just since this one does a couple of neat things. All right. One thing that's kind of cool, new, and different is in addition to being able to associate a site design with a hub site through hub site settings so that it will be run anytime a site joins that site, you also have the ability to actually create sites. Go ahead. Oh, no. Dismiss, dismiss. My goodness. Wow. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and create this new sales Southeast event. What I'm doing here is I'm actually creating this site from the hub. This feature has not rolled out yet. It'll be rolling out very soon. But what this allows you to do is by being created from the hub, it's actually going to be automatically joined. Wow. Okay? Yeah. So now you get the automatic join and you get the site configuration automatically, okay? Super cool. All right. I think we are jumping back to slides for one quick second just to give some of you some more context here. And I know we're getting really close to being out of time. And I want to show you guys a couple of the cool new things that we'll be rolling out this fall. So all of this is in your deck. But just real quickly, the scripts are really, like I said, this is where all the action happens. And you know, what's really cool about this, I want to point out that trigger flow action. So the trigger flow action is super powerful because when we rolled out site scripts, we realized we weren't going to be able to give you guys everything day 1 or even day 90. It's going to take time to give you all these actions, especially because all the other feature crews keep building stuff. And so we want to make sure, in order to be able to script all that stuff, we also wanted to give you an option to take advantage of maybe investments you've already made in custom solutions. So you have the ability to use the trigger flow action to actually call out to a flow and actually run your own custom solutions or apply your own custom applications, because you can use the flow to actually pass in, hey, this is the site I just created, go do stuff to it, okay? So it's really a nice kind of backstop while we try and catch up with native actions. And this is the list. And this list, I'm really pleased to say, the team has done a phenomenal job because we're not a very big team. We have built a lot of stuff in the last year, a lot of action support. So you'll see that I've kind of bucketed them in terms of components, lists, libraries, and all that capability. And that will include a lot of the new branding settings, as well as the settings on the right side. But you can also even do things like register solutions. If you have something in the tenant app catalog, you can go ahead and invoke it and have that be applied programmatically through a site script. Okay, let's talk about some new things. For those of you who are familiar with site scripts and have been using this last year, you've probably all just, now have a new badge that says, I am an awesome JSON author, right? And you probably hate that badge, unless you're a developer. So one of the things we've been wanting to do, and we've been listening to your feedback, it's awesome. There's been some great community tools here. But one of the things that's always been our intent is, while you have to craft your own site scripts right now and People like myself, Vesa, and the community, they're putting out great stuff into GitHub for you to start from. We also wanted to give you the ability to auto-generate, okay? So what we're starting with is lists and libraries, yay. So what you can do is you can actually take an existing list that you've configured and you can extract it into a serialized format into JSON. And then you can turn around and make a script with that. So that's pretty powerful. And I'm going to demonstrate that in 1 second. How are we doing? Oh my gosh, we're really down to minutes. Okay, 2 other quick things. The other thing I've heard from you guys, which is awesome feedback, is, hey, this is great. You've given us a bunch of script actions, but I keep running up against your limits. What are we going to do about that? We have a solution for you. What we have is really a replacement. So when I applied that site script to that classic site, I used the invoke SPO site design commandlet. But we have a new one called add SPO site design task. What that allows you to do is actually queue up a very large site script and then execute it. Let's go ahead and see what that looks like. Am I back on demo? There we go. All right. I'm going to jump up to something that I actually already built earlier. What it is I attach to a variable a list. And it's this retail accounts list, which I believe I have right here. And this list has a whole bunch of schema and a bunch of data. Thank you, Jeremy and others. For some reason, this list wasn't very populated. The content isn't what's important, it's the schema. And what I can do is I can go ahead and run this thing and attach it to a variable. Actually, I'll go ahead and run it for you again, just so you can kind of see what's going on here. All I'm passing in is the URL of the list that I've configured. And once that's done, then what it's going to do is it's going to go and actually read that list and go and write that information into the variable. Maybe, come on.